6:30 p.m. I'd like to start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everyone, I'd like to now turn it over to Superintendent Dr. Curtis Coates.
Thank you, Mr. Loftus. So as is required each year by the State Education Department, all public school districts in the state of New York are required to publish for 30 days prior to a public hearing to be held, most times pursuant to a Board of Education meeting, a overview of a district-wide safety plan. Before I go through the brief presentation, just to clarify, this is meant not only as our 10,000 foot overview, I like to describe this almost as the 40,000 foot overview. This is not the specifics of what's in the plan. This is not what are you going to see if X, Y, or Z happens. This is simply to state, A, does the district have a plan? And B, do we meet the mandates within the plan? Subsequent to that, in private, the district consults with safety agencies, with fire, with EMS, with ambulance corps, to make sure that the specifics, if there truly are real emergencies that occur in the district, that those plans are codified between law enforcement and safety agencies. And in fact, a safety plan gets submitted to the state of New York and to law enforcement through what they call the New York State Education Business Portal. It's an online direct conduit between the state education department and each school district. That happens after this approval. So the plan that I'm going to go through briefly with you tonight is just that 40,000 foot overview. Does the district meet the mandate of having a broad overview and plan in place to then go forth and script out those specific building level plans? It is on, Mr.
You're good. There's a lag. It went.
There we go. So what is to be included in a district-wide plan? So again, this is intended to script out how does the district react in an implied threat of violence, an actual threat of violence? What does a communication plan look like specifically with law enforcement, with you, our community, and our families, and our guardians? And then what is the relationship to be between police, fire, emergency services that I said, and depending on the type of the emergency that may happen, any other government agency that may be called upon in the event of that emergency. Within the plan, you would also see the establishment of prevention and intervention techniques that the district can utilize to try to mitigate and or prevent anything from happening, specific training that could happen with the staff throughout the year, and then the requirement beyond for any individual safety drills also that need to occur. Also is embedded that you must have a chief emergency officer named within the district plan, and ours is the superintendent of schools has been and or their designee if the superintendent is not present. The chief emergency officer has to make sure that, as I spoke about before, that the building level plans are up to date every year. Again, we do that in consultation, law enforcement, with fire, with EMS, and with any other relevant government agency, and with our building administrators based on any personnel changes that may happen. Also, we look to make sure that we're compliant with all of our drills. As you may or may not know, this year the State Education Department talked about making changes to the requirement for lockdown drills. In fact, they only took a very slight change in position, if you will, in lockdown drills. Sometimes, as you know, in the past, lockdown drills were unannounced. The State Education Department has now said all of those drills are to be announced at least a week and ahead. And again, our policy development focuses largely around what the state requires as well. What are some of the specific changes that we made for this year? We do have a Board of Education Safety Committee. Each year we look at the district-wide plan. And there's just a few here that have also been listed on the district website. Again, the first one in section 1 was just a grammatical change. Due to the experience that the district had this summer with a cyber incident, we did add cyber attacks to the list of possible emergencies. If that had happened during the school year, I can tell you, we referenced heavily this summer our relationship with the Monroe Woodbury School District. If any of you remember, they had I'll call it a worse incident, if you will, and it actually happened on the first day of school to them, forcing them actually to close school. We made some changes to include in section 5 the addition of private security personnel, as we now not only have a relationship with the Village of Goshen, we also have a relationship with Atlas Security. We made some changes also in section 5 regarding the threat assessment team, how we would communicate several or many of those different potentially violent acts that could occur or threatening behaviors. We added school psychologists to our response team. We removed Rachel's Challenge and Friends of Rachel's Challenge Club because we do not implement that program. We have moved more to Choose Love and Navit Cares at the secondary level, which we will make as an addition. Finally, in section 6, again, we added school psychologists as part of the post-incident response team. And then one of the things that often goes without taking notice is many times when the incident is critical, the response team that may either respond here in Goshen, or there's also a countywide response team to which numerous of our mental health professionals belong. They can get called to respond to any district in the county, and sometimes depending on the magnitude of the incident outside of the county. We also added a debriefing session for those that may have to respond to our plan as well. Again, making the difference between what exists here in the district-wide plan versus the building level plans. The building level plans will be far more specific. They will talk about evacuation protocol, they'll talk about what does the shelter in place look like, the lockdown, the lockout procedures. And again, these are things that are designed that you wouldn't want someone with malintent to have firsthand access to. You would want that information to be private and held specific to the building. Again, those will contain specific building blueprints, things that if law enforcement or emergency agencies have to react, that they're going to need instant access to. And when we submit those in October, all of that information goes directly to all of our cooperating partners. Again, it's meant to be confidential and is not intended to be viewed or commented on by the public. And finally, this has been and will continue to be posted on our website. You'd be able to see last year's on there as well. Again, we went through the changes, and those also have been posted on the website. But this is the time now that, similar to public comment during the general session, if anyone would like to address the board or to the administration, similar to public comment, we would just ask that you would come up forward to the microphone, identify yourself, where you live, and any public comments you would like to make on the safety plan. Or not, they made it easy.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Coates, thank you everybody else. All right, that concludes the public hearing presentation. I need a motion to close the public hearing. John and Scott, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, thank you very much. All right, and then moving on, I'd like to call to order a regular meeting of the Board of Education, being held in the same place, now slightly later at 6:40 on Monday, August 19th. We've already done the Pledge of Allegiance, so we'll be moving on to privilege of the floor. All right, persons wishing to speak should first be recognized by the president, then identify themselves. Any group or organization wishing to address the board must identify a single spokesperson. Comments shall be brief and concise, generally not exceeding 4 minutes in length per speaker, which may be extended at the discretion of the board president. Each privilege of the floor session is not to exceed 32 minutes in length. Speakers may comment on matters related to district business only. The board will not permit in public session discussions involving individual district personnel by name or by title or students. Persons wishing to discuss matters involving individual district personnel or students should present their comments and or concerns to the superintendent during regular business hours. All speakers are to conduct themselves in a civil manner. Obscene language, libelous statements, threats of violence, statements advocating racial, religious, or other forms of prejudice will not be tolerated. Just a quick side note before we jump into things. Towards the end of the school year last year, we did have a couple of speakers come up sharing some very positive comments. And we were a little lax in allowing them to say some names, even though they were making positive praise. And I do want to just emphasize, we do have to stick with the policy. Despite if you say something positive or negative, please keep in mind, we'll have to keep names and titles out of that. So just want to make sure we get back to it now that we have more folks here and more speakers. All right, thank you. The first one we have here is Mary Beth Tyrell.
I won't say anybody's name. Good evening, thank you. My name is Mary Beth Terrell. I am,
Just gotta press the button on the microphone, the bottom there.
I'm not loud enough?
For people at home.
Oh, sorry. Okay, my name is Mary Beth Terrell, and I represent Girls on the Run Hudson Valley. I am a board member of Girls on the Run, and I have coached Girls on the Run here in the Goshen School District for 10 sessions. Girls on the Run was started in 1996 by a woman named Molly Barker. She had 13 girls in Charlotte, North Carolina, and it took off. As of 2024, over 2 million girls have participated in the program. Girls on the Run is an international nonprofit with a charity score of 100 and a 4-star rating, which is the highest rating. So it is a wonderful place if anybody wants to make any donation now. Anyway, Girls on the Run is an evidence-based program dedicated to strengthening 3rd through 8th grade girls, their social, emotional, physical, and behavioral skills to help them navigate life's experiences. In 2013, Goshen had its first team. The first coach, to be unnamed, was gonna come tonight. And she actually, and her daughter came back years later and continued to be a coach. Okay, so she came back years later, even after her daughter was out of college, and they both coached. There's some other coaches here who will stay nameless. In 11 years here at Goshen, over 300 girls have participated in the program. I took a look last year at the soccer and lacrosse teams, and I'm venturing to say 80 to 85% of those young ladies that are gonna play this year, I had in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. Okay, so we've made a tremendous impact on your athletes. This weekend alone, 2 young ladies who graduated from here, I guess I can say their names, can I? Gianna Catalano and Dylan Dugan are both running track and both on scholarships, and they were in Girls on the Run for 3 years as well. Recently, Girls on the Run Hudson Valley received an invoice for over $1,000 to use the facilities here in Goshen. It is a nonprofit, okay? We have never paid before. I would like you to know that no girl has ever been excluded from this program for payment. It's not a lot anyway, but even if a family cannot afford it, I've given girls sneakers, okay, running sneakers. We take care of them. We take care of the girls in this community. I'm requesting that the board will revisit this. An organization like Girls on the Run can't necessarily afford it. I'll be honest with you, if you make it happen, I'll raise the money somehow and we will still have it, but it really doesn't say much to the community. This is meeting the social, emotional responsibilities that you have as a school district. We're helping you with that, okay, with these young ladies. Programs like this are more important now than ever. I don't know if you know it, but last year, when it was time for the basketball finals, more people watched the girls' championship game than the boys' championship game. I hear more people talking about Gabby Thomas and Sydney McLaughlin-Lavone running than I do about the boys. It's time for our girls to do what I've been trying to do for a long time. The school district has to help. Okay? This is their time. We may, in a short period of time, have a woman president. I didn't think that would happen in my lifetime. We need to have programs like this, and we need to have the support of this organization. For a lousy $1,000, it would be $2,000 for the year, but I really think you need to revisit it. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you very much for sharing. All right, we have one more. Mary Z.
Yes, Mary. Oh, it's on already,
Yep.
sorry. So, I support what Mary Beth said, but in addition to that, I wanted to raise to the board about, seeing if we could be sponsors of Red Ribbon Week next year. I think I mentioned it during the roundtable. I don't think we're the sponsor this year, and I think it's very important. So just wanted to mention that.
Year after.
We already applied.
Oh, good,
So
that's
I
great.
don't, I don't think we're next year. There's a waiting list, believe it
Okay.
or not. I think we're the year after, but we did apply.
Excellent.
I have an in with the group.
Yes.
Thank you both for sharing. We have a few more agenda points, but I thought this might be worth noting here on point number 6. We are going to be discussing policy, and one of the policies we have printed out for discussion tonight is policy 3280, school facility use. Just putting out there that it is a forthcoming agenda item on tonight's meeting. So thank you again. All right, moving on to our next item, the President's report. Not too much to really share tonight, but as we move forward into our new school year and we're really starting to gear up, I just wanted to remind everybody of this document that we have available on our website. Well, timeout. On our website, I'm sorry if it was posted 6 o'clock meeting tonight, it actually was 6:30. I think that was changed a little bit later today, so just in case you showed up a half hour early, sorry about that. So back to this document. So our governance handbook is posted on our website, and it's really a great document, and I think it's really worth taking a look at if you're a community member, whatever stakeholder group you're in. And a few items in this manual I really wanted to point out is there was a lot of effort put into clarifying the role of the Board of Education and the role of the superintendent. I know it was certainly something that, becoming a new board member, I needed to really learn very quickly to try to be an effective governance member. And you can find it on page 5 and page 11, really detailed bullet point list of those roles and responsibilities. Even at the very end of this, there's a nice kind of bullet point guideline, that just talks about general items. Just for example, the Board of Education governs the district, hires the superintendent, evaluates self and superintendent, whereas the superintendent manages the district, advises the board's only employee through a contractual relationship. And there's a couple of other bullet point meeting points: personnel, negotiations, facilities, meetings, really giving you just a couple of words on who does what and what category it falls into. So if you haven't had a chance to check that out, I find it to be an excellent resource, and it's available to everybody on the website to please look at and review at your convenience. All right, moving on. Mr. John Sullivan, any updates from Oxford this evening?
Still no updates. Looking forward to meeting next month.
Next month, first meeting?
Yep.
Great. Is that gonna be in person or virtual?
I believe in person.
Right, very good, thank you.
I think they're all doing virtual in the December, January, February months. So I didn't want to reschedule.
Sounds good. Thank you, John. All right, moving on to board member committee reports. We have policy here. Before we jump into policy, do we have any other committee reports that anybody would like to share? No? Good, I know that we have a forthcoming facility and safety committee meeting soon. Policy in another 2 weeks, I believe. So meetings are continuing to move. Keeping in line with prior meetings, did everybody have a chance to take a look at the material for the first reading? Does anybody need to spend time on any of the policies that are listed here to be read on our first reading tonight? No? Okay, great. You can find them on your agendas. There's a handful of items that were presented that the policy committee had already gone through. Then now we're on first reading. All right, so then moving on to the next policy item, I think everybody has here, policy 3280. So if you wanted to go ahead and take it out, I know we had a few points that we'd like to discuss about that this evening. So I'll leave it open to anybody who'd like to start the conversation.
So, my understanding is that this was discussed, in 2019, correct, 2019, 2020,
To 22.
and then, voted on. It was voted on in 2022 or 2020?
It was readopted in 22.
Readopted in November of 22, if I have the timeline right.
And I understand that there was some community input at that time. But I think what's maybe shocking to everyone is that the rollout was so much later, and there was really, like, for people who might not have been aware that this policy was put into place, it was shocking to various community organizations who weren't planning on paying the fee. I am also surprised, I was not part of the board when it was adopted, that there isn't a waiver option. So I understand, and it might be helpful for someone to recap, why it was put into place, because obviously we don't want to see our facilities inappropriately used. There's a way to, I think, do that without charging not-for-profit organizations or other organizations, even our sports organizations that use our facilities so often, the Scouts. There are just so many organizations that our children utilize our facilities that I think it would, I don't know that the rollout was appropriately done, and I think there needs to be a waiver.
Yeah, I certainly agree with the first points that were made. What I do recall, and I'm only looking at this side of the table because you're the only two who are here longer, right? Or Dr. Coe, chime in, please. But if I recall, there were policies from some of the surrounding districts. It was very typical in the policy committee. What did Cornwall do, and Warwick and Monroe, just looking at our surrounding areas, and what did they have? Did they have fees? How was that broken down? So I know that was looked at, and if I recall, one of the topics of conversation was also, how do you protect the investment if you have a group that does damage something? So I remember that being part of the initial conversation, but I do agree with you, and hearing a lot that was shared tonight, we have a lot of great organizations, nonprofits that are providing excellent outlets for so many of our students. A couple of dollars could make it or break it for someone, and that's just, we wouldn't want to see that happen. So we wouldn't want to discourage folks from using it, in my opinion, but we would also want to make sure that we can protect them if need be, if someone does come and mistreat a facility. So I don't know, just kind of recalling the timeline, if there's something else. Yeah, please, I'm trying to recall this.
Sure.
A
So
while back.
this is something that not only Goshen struggles with, but just about any school district that talks about use of facilities struggles with. It's not an easy topic to discuss, but we've already hit on all the salient points. How do you protect your facilities? The district has invested very, very heavily in not only outdoor facilities, but indoor facilities as well. And the concern of the board at the time was that we had some instances that there had been some damage to the track, which we just repaired this summer. We had instances where some outside groups had used the auditorium, had left the inside of the high school in shambles, for lack of a better way to say it. And the discussion at the time was that this would be a way perhaps to protect the facilities a little bit further. To address the concerns on rollout, when we met on this in terms of rollout, at the time when the policy was adopted, we had no online application system. Everything was being done by paper. And I can tell you the number of instances of double booking, people not getting things that they had requested on the use of facilities fees. We had made the decision at the time that we were going to move to an online system. That being said, that would allow for billing, it would allow for people to go in and submit their required insurance online, and we said that would take some time. We knew that wasn't gonna happen instantaneously. We'd have to vet a number of systems, we'd have to figure out which one was going to be best for Goshen. Then we also said that we didn't wanna start mid-year. So after 22, it took us several months to find a new one. We had our facilities director leave, and we had to onboard somebody new. When that happened, we decided that we would do it at the beginning of a new school year, was when we posted everything on the website, so that when people would log on, they would be able to see the new process and protocol on there. Weighing in from my perspective, if the board decides to move forward with any kind of change, from an administrative standpoint, I'm just gonna be honest, a waiver is a nightmare. How do you pick one and not the other? If we're going to look at the fee schedule, maybe greatly reducing it to a one-time application fee, something nominal, minimal, $20-$25, or not at all. Just a waiver process is very, very, very difficult. Maybe put something back-ended in there that damages would be expensed at, cleanup fees would be expensed at, whatever the case may be. That just from an administrative perspective, to put it back-ended in there like that would be much, much easier to deal with.
I mean, I would support something, we can't have our kids lose opportunities to do things because of a fees, fees that, while I completely understand we have to protect our, our buildings, our grounds and all those things from people doing any damage. I think that we'd have to come up with a way that people aren't going, I would be more comfortable with back-ending charges if there was major damage and something happened and, people weren't taking care of the situation, but I wouldn't wanna see, and I'm sure you guys feel the same way, we're not looking to take away any opportunities from our kids. These are really important opportunities.
Even if it was a bond.
Something that people don't have to pay up
Yeah,
front.
because listen, I think it's no secret, I'm involved in a bunch of the youth sports organizations in town. And the current structure for youth football to play its games would be, between $5,000 and $10,000. For a nonprofit organization, that's just, I won't say it's unreasonable, it's unreasonable to adapt on the fly at a minimum. I'm sure we could overcome any instance and that's gonna result in people paying $450 instead of $250, and I don't think that's where we wanna be. So that being said, I think that if we, I understand your point of a waiver and I couldn't imagine the logistical legwork involved in that, but I think even if we move towards a bond and if we limit this ability to use the facilities to nonprofit organizations that are based in our community, I think that alone, let's be honest, I'm at that field, I mean, probably more than people get paid to be at that field. And the people that typically leave that field in disarray are people who have not gone through the proper channels to utilize it. And that's a real issue too. We need to figure something out there. But I just think that in order to support our community organizations, and one additional point that I think is an unfair, Dr. Coates' benefit, unfair across the district has to bear here, is that Goshen's the only town in all of Orange County from a youth football standpoint and I guess from a youth lacrosse standpoint even too, that does not provide a town-based field for its organizations to use. So while, I talked to other, I was president for Goshen football for a bunch of years. I'm not the president anymore, but I can't seem to let go. And I talked to other presidents in other towns, but like, yeah, some school districts charge, some school districts don't charge us. And the ones that charge say, yeah, we just play at our town park. We have a field. In Goshen, we don't have that option. And I realize that's not necessarily the district's problem, but it is the students of the district's problem. And if we don't have that and we can't provide a place for them to play, I mean, what's the alternative, right? I mean, I've had this conversation multiple times about whether it be Erie Street basketball or football. The alternative is if these kids aren't playing in these organizations, they're not studying for the Nobel Prize. Like there's bad stuff that's happening if we don't keep them busy. Everybody knows idle time. So I think we have a responsibility to the community that we represent. We went and got these facilities to provide access to them, so.
Yeah, and I can speak, and I can speak the same for lacrosse, because outside of the school fields, if we have a home game and we can't be on these fields, we're driving to Middletown. And, at one point it was, the school district was like, is this your home field or is this our home field? But so I understand exactly what you're saying when we talk about the lack of fields that the town provides for outside of soccer and baseball, you know, we're kind of stuck, you know.
But even for soccer, some of our soccer clubs that play year round utilize the gymnasiums during the winter time so that they don't have to expend, pay outside and charge more to the families who are engaged in those programs. And then they've been using those gymnasiums, and then the scouts, it's the same thing. Many of the scout programs are immediately after school. So that's helpful to the parents, so then they're going to pick them up immediately after school. So there's just so many factors here. I do understand that we need to protect our facilities, but I think we have to revisit this plan.
I mean, I think we've heard, about sports teams, the girls on the run. We've heard about Boy Scouts, Cub Scouts using our facilities. And while we weren't here when this vote took place, and I kind of understand we have to protect our facilities, I don't think the spirit of that was meant to chase people away. And we don't want the kids in our district, whether it's any of the people here or who wrote to us or spoke to us in person outside, to be forced to look for another place to meet. And I think they're entitled to use the facilities for free, so these non-charter events. I think we have to come up with a way, maybe on the back end, to protect them if things are damaged. I think that's fine. Maybe that's the administration will figure out.
Yeah, so I think that I agree with all the points that you're all making. Maybe the way forward is we can put that into our next policy meeting. Maybe we can get a little assistance on the administration side. I know that there was a lot of analysis for what the other districts are doing in terms of setting up a fee structure. But maybe we could specifically dig in and find out if there are waivers, if there is a bond, if there are some type of creative solutions where we can still protect our facilities and our investment, try to reduce a cost burden on some of these groups. So
just to be fully transparent, then I think that next policy meeting is the 28th of this month.
that's great. And
May I ask a question in that regard? Be on the other side of the line. When somebody's currently renting the facility through the new online system, it's not asking for payment at that point.
No.
So,
All it does is just create a billing system.
gotcha. Just to be transparent, if we were to change something that would be effective retroactively, because
Well, that was gonna be my question for direction from the board. This is a board approved policy. Is the direction right now to temporarily suspend this until the board amends whatever?
that would be my preference.
Yes.
yeah. Temporary suspend the billing, but don't throw the policy away. Don't bill.
I just wanna make sure that, for instance, football filling out, it's $5,000, where I don't, then the policy changes, like, well, yeah, it changed, but I wanna make sure that we're transparent in that regard. I think
And we're
there's
at
a
the
lot of
beginning-
people in this room, I think they're here for a reason.
We're at the beginning of the season, and yeah, I mean, well, as much as these
Yeah.
groups as well, and
Yeah.
it affects everyone in our community. So I think we put it on our agenda next policy meeting, which is around the corner. We see what we can come up with, and we try to,
So everyone should continue to still use that online, so you can book
Yes.
whatever you wanna book, but just know that we suspended for the time being any
Yeah.
charges.
Is the intent for any of the hourly charges and the custodial fees? Because the way custodial fees work right now is if there is already a custodian assigned for that time, then we don't charge. However, if it's something that requires additional overtime, then we would.
just personally, I would say let's stick with that. I remember many of the scout events that we ran and the Odyssey events and everything else. And custodians were on staff, we were okay, but anything extra, if it was a weekend event, there was always that fee. So I don't think we should now take on the extra cost, but let's not add more at the moment.
That makes sense.
Everybody else
Yeah.
did that.
So that doesn't change from how it's been being done for the past few years, at least in that regard. Okay, good.
Yes.
I think that's a good plan.
Thank you.
Excellent, good. I'm glad we brought that up for discussion. First mini round of applause.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We want more of those. Doing something quick here. Anything else policy wise, folks?
No.
No. All right, very good. So, moving on now to our next point, our superintendent's report, Dr. Brooks Scopes.
Thank you, Mr. Loftus. So we are on the home stretch of the summer, if you will, and it is that time where we're making sure that we're fully staffed. And we have many of our new appointees here tonight that I'm going to introduce shortly. Then I would ask them to please stand and just introduce yourself briefly to the board. I'm gonna go in the order that you are here on the agenda for appointment tonight. I will start with our new music teacher for CJ Hooker Middle School. And I'm gonna try so hard at your name, forgive me if I get it wrong. Muriel Weisberg? So please feel free to stand and introduce yourself to the board now.
Do you want to go there or?
No, you can stand right there, that's fine.
Oh, hi. Hi, my name is Mireille Weisberg. I'm really excited to join the Goshen School District. I know that I have big shoes to fill in from the previous teachers, but I'm looking forward to work with the board, work with all the music teacher, with the department. I have quite extensive, many years of extended experience in public school and private schools, and I'm with students of many different levels and abilities, and I'm looking forward to share my love of music with you all, and thank you all for having me and having me like come in and join your family. Thank you.
Next, to assume the new .8 role of an AIS teacher at CJ Hooker, Ms. Erin Fleury.
Hi, Erin Fleury. I live about 10 minutes from here in Florida, New York with my husband and my kids who are teenagers now. And I actually coached Girls on the Run when my daughter was really little, so that's awesome. I was excited to see that through here. But the last year I worked at SAS as a leave replacement teacher, and I had a wonderful year there. And I'm really excited to continue my teaching career here in Goshen. So thank you so much.
Next, one of our newest special education teachers at Goshen Intermediate School is Emily Buck.
Sorry, I prepared something, sorry. Good evening, members of the Board of Education. My name is Emily Buck, and I am an Orange County native with 6 years of teaching experience. I'm passionate about providing the support students need to feel successful and reach that gotcha moment of understanding. I looked at Goshen Central School District because your mission statement emphasized lifelong learning, which I believe is absolutely integral to a child's educational journey. It's clear that something special is happening in Goshen, as many of my friends are eager to move into the area just to be a part of this district. I'm excited to collaborate with the 5th grade team and be a part of the amazing work already happening here. Thank you.
Next, also joining us in special education at Goshen Intermediate School, Mr. Thomas Lyons.
I didn't prepare. But I've been teaching for the last 6 years, a little bit, mostly special education, did a little bit of general ed. Looking forward to getting back into special education. I've got some family in Goshen. I've heard nothing but great things about the school district, so I'm really looking forward to getting started.
And finally, one of our newest teaching assistants at Goshen Avenue Elementary School, Ms. Crystal Panatelli.
Good evening. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Dr. Coates for selecting me and the board for approving me for the teaching assistant position at Scotchtown Avenue Elementary School. I have been with this district for a little over a year now as a teacher aide. I look forward to stepping into the new role that's upon me and working to continue working with the students as well as the staff at Scotchtown Avenue Elementary School. Thank you very much.
And last but not least, I skipped over one, my apologies. Joining us in special education at Goshen Avenue Elementary School, Ms. Jill Christensen.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me. I am so excited to join Goshen. My husband and our 2 kids, we live right up on Murray, so you've probably been in our house on Halloween. But we're really excited to be a part of the community a bit more. Our kids are 3 and 1, so they'll soon be joining the schools here. So thank you very much.
I'd like to personally thank all of you for coming tonight to introduce yourselves and to put this foot forward to get off on the right foot, if you will, to become an active and a great member of the faculty and the staff here in Goshen. And I could not be more excited to welcome all of you, so congratulations again. So to go over several of the items on my report for this evening, besides our great personnel additions. So our transportation department has been working throughout the summer and from the end of last year at ways to improve the services that we deliver to the families of the community. We've been working very, very extensively with a transportation consultant as well. And we will be rolling out some changes that will hopefully make positive impact to both Scotchtown Avenue and Goshen Intermediate School this year, and subsequently positive impact for our extracurricular runs as well. So through an extensive study of the routing system, we now believe that we can have dedicated bus runs for both Scotchtown Avenue Elementary School and Goshen Intermediate School. That will greatly reduce the number of buses that will have to go to each building, that will mitigate the transfer that will have to happen from one building to the other. It will reduce the amount of time that students will be sitting on buses waiting at the individual schools, and we are looking to get that routing out as soon as possible, hopefully before the end of the week. Am I wrong, Mrs. Wells? We're hoping before the end of this week. The other thing that will also do is allow us to free up some drivers for the end of the day, which will hopefully help with our extracurricular and sporting runs. So all of this will be communicated in writing and on our district website. We'll be sure to get a lot of this communication out to our families. And again, much of that, much asked for and much needed communication and improvement to our families also. We also wanted to introduce that we will be switching our communication system. So for many years now, we have used the school messenger communication system. There is a new software program called Parent Square. And what Parent Square allows us to do is replace many of the different platforms that we have been using down into one. So for instance, you may have heard of Remind, Talking Points, Class Dojo. We will actually be able to reduce the number of systems that we're using. So the interaction not only between you and the district, but you and your child's classroom, you and your child's team, you and your child's club, it can all be housed in one centralized system. We hope, we are planning on by the middle of September, but with a deadline of October 1st, to have this fully rolled out to our families. Mr. Redeker has been working with a team of teachers to do some professional development with a number of volunteers over the summer. Please watch for a great amount of communication that now will be coming your way to introduce you to Parent Square and the improvements that we hope that it will make with communication to our families. Mr. McCardle and Mr. Riley have been working extensively over the summer for a large amount of facilities improvements that we can typically only work on during summer months. The roofing project is about 99% of the way there at GIS. We were able to replace the roof over the gym that unfortunately had been leaking for an extensive period of time. That has now been fully replaced. We have rehabbed the rest of that roof. The second part of the electrical upgrade at Scotchtown Avenue was completed earlier in the summer, which will now allow us to have full capacity in that building and no other issues with running the new centralized cooling that's been installed in that building. We also have installed the 2 charging stations for the anticipated electric buses that will be delivered hopefully by late fall at the bus garage. They finished that late June, early July, and those charging stations are now installed. We did a full rehab of the artificial turf for the track at the high school. They came in, they did a unique pressure washing. I thought pressure washing was just pressure washing, but the contractor that came in, they have a special technique that they use to rehab the entire track. They made some repairs to the track. A company called Shenango Turf came in and did a full rehab of both of the artificial turf fields at the high school as well. And they completely restriped the track as well after they had done the pressure wash. They just finished the seal coating of the parking lot at CJ Hooker, and our custodians and maintenance workers are fast and furious trying to make sure that all of the final cleaning for our buildings is complete. So for our opening, when our staff returns full-time on the 3rd and then students on the 4th, that our buildings look as top-notch as they always do. Finally, I wanted to revisit something that actually came from our OXPA group that we had spoken last year about the Lower Hudson Education Coalition, which is an advocacy group that runs primarily out of Dutchess, Putnam, Westchester and Rockland counties right now. The last that the group had spoken to Oxbow, they were looking to amend their bylaws to include Orange County. We've been notified by the Lower Hudson Education Coalition that they in fact have amended their bylaws. So they're looking now to bring in as many member districts as they possibly can into the group from Orange County. So just for instance, some of the advocacy pieces that they work on, they most recently have been working on the proposed regulations for interscholastic athletics. They have been working on the electrification of the transportation mandate. Currently working on any potential changes with the Rockefeller Institute and State Education Department in terms of foundation aid. This is a very, I can tell you, active and powerful lobby group. I would strongly suggest that the board consider joining in membership. It gives us another voice to be able, if there is something specific as well, just to our district, that we can reach out and ask for their assistance. I know from speaking from partner school districts and superintendents that not only do they advocate for all districts, but when individual issues come up, and I can speak to one Dutchess district, when they had a mistake that had happened with their filing for final cost reports for a capital improvement project, that the state was going to withhold that on them. That was upwards of about $1 million. The advocacy group got involved and they were able to get their aid through that. The cost for membership is $950 a year. I would again strongly suggest that the board consider joining the LHEC. With that, Mr. Loftus, I will conclude my report and turn it back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Coates. Questions from anybody? Do we have a business report this evening? Okay. All right, moving on then, our Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum, Instruction, Personnel, and Technology report, Mr. Jason Carter.
Thank you, Mr. Loftus. Good evening, everyone. So, as you know, we're still in recovery from the cyber incident that is ongoing. But I wanted to offer a few updates that I think are very important, especially for our students, our faculty, staff, and parents regarding network access, device access, and account access in general. So over the last 2 weeks, representatives from our tech services department, along with our district data clerk and others from the Mid-Hudson Regional Information Center have been working with Arctic Wolf and the disaster recovery team there to reset thousands of passwords and access points for our entire school community. We have communicated a great deal of that by way of Screen Messenger, I believe. However, I think it's imperative to get that out there in public sessions so that everyone knows exactly what we have going on and how they can gain access. This is for all Windows PCs, all Chromebooks. It's for our Envision programs. It's for just about everything that we host here in the district that is not web-based. So we begin with our students K-5. Of course, they need access to Chromebooks and access to their accounts. So our team literally created a very standardized password for all of our students. We did get through that. We do have a master list that we will share with all of our classroom teachers, keep in a very secure location so that we can assist our students. If parents are in need of that credential at the moment, we can have them call our technical services department and the team there, someone from the team there will help them with that access. For our 612 students, they've actually been forced into a reset starting with Google. So as they log into Google for the first time, they will be asked to provide not only their username, but the most, I don't want to say most recent, the previous password to allow them to then move into the password reset phase. Unfortunately, if they are not able to provide that password, the account will be locked. And we are receiving some phone calls about that. I just spoke to Jim Stair prior to this meeting. I actually received an email from a student who was experiencing that. So the most important part is if you do not know the password, can't recall it because it was stored on the device, tomorrow morning and every business day thereafter, just call technical services and let them assist you before trying to sit there and figure out that password. I'm sure that could be quite frustrating. So that forced password change will happen for all of our students 612. And then moving on, we also had all of the student school tool accounts reset. So, you know, I'm imagining that most students probably stored their passwords in the app or wherever it may have been on the device. These new passwords were auto-generated, and we asked for those passwords to be sent to the Google email. So of course, this leads back to our previous conversation here that we have to reset those passwords in Google to gain access to the email to then open the doors for all of your other apps and so on. Regarding Parent Portal, which I know everyone is looking forward to the portal opening so that you can receive schedules and so on, those passwords were also reset by our data clerk, and those passwords will be or have been emailed to whatever email you have linked on that Parent Portal account. So if there are multiple emails, you know, it's important to check all of those, and whichever one is linked in our system, that's where your password will be. And we anticipate that Parent Portal school tool will open on the 23rd in preparation for the school year. So if you're having any problems, once again, please contact tech services so that we can get you situated. I know that our offices can probably help identify the email account that you have linked to school tool and Parent Portal. So if you're not getting a hold of someone, I'm sure that we can help you as well. We had faculty and staff passwords reset by the RIC for just about everything that they use here, Envision and so on. And all of those passwords were sent to their district emails. And so this is important also because we will have things such as Global Compliance Network coming out by email. So to receive your notifications, you also have to go in and access your Google Mail. This was a very large task that started at the RIC and then actually finished up with Joel Weinstein. So I just want to make sure that we offer a lot of gratitude to those people who were working on it, because again, it was thousands of email changes. Right now, and Dr. Coates, please chime in if you feel the need, but I know the investigation is ongoing, but the most important piece in trying to maintain security is to know that every single device that turns on and hits our network, once it's pinged, once it tries to attach to the network, it is scanned by that Sentinel-1 program that Arctic Wolf has provided. And I think that's really important to know that everything right now is being scanned continuously as soon as it logs on. That does not include anything that hits the guest network. It's just our production network. So I believe that that's pretty well protected and will continue to be. And then in addition, we still have BOCES working with us to monitor incoming and outgoing traffic on the network. And this will continue until we are 100% positive that everything is exactly where we need it to be. Again, the most important piece here in preparation for the school year, if anyone is having any issues, we have to contact technical services. You know, if you contact my office, I'll do the best that I can as well. I know Dr. Coates would do the same, but technical services has everything right there, ready to help you. That number is 845-615-6460. Anything that we can do to make this a little easier regarding access, sure, it would be our pleasure. And that would conclude my report.
Thank you very much. Questions?
Excuse me, Mr. Carter.
Yeah.
Is that information on the Goshen website with general instructions and that phone number that you listed?
I'm not quite sure if it's up on there right now, but first thing in the morning, we can definitely get the message out to the team or Capital Region BOCES.
Thank you. All right, moving on. Need a motion to approve the consent agenda. Shannon. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education approves the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Aye. I need a motion to approve minutes. John, Scott. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education approves the minutes of the August 5th, 2024 regular board meeting. All those in favor? Opposed? I need a motion to set the 2024-2025 school tax warrant. Lily and Shannon. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education approves the 2024-2025 school tax warrant as presented. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Tax warrant here. Just gonna pass it around. It needs everybody's signature. While we're waiting for that to go around, official congratulations again, everybody. You are welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, but we don't hold it against you if you decide to check out. No hard feelings. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
Can't believe you're leaving.
Thank you.
Chill, Bill.
Moving on. We need a motion for the resolution to confirm the tax rolls and authorize the tax levy. Ashley, John. Whereas the Board of Education has been authorized by the voters at the annual school meeting to raise the current budget of the 2024-2025 school year, a sum not to exceed $55,672,008. Therefore be it resolved that the board fix the equalized tax rates by towns and confirm the extension of the taxes as they appear on the following described tax roll. It hereby directed that the tax warrant of this board, duly signed, shall be affixed to the above described tax rolls authorizing the collection of said taxes in September 1st, 2024 and end November 4th, 2024, giving the tax warrant an effective period of 64 days at the expiration of which time tax collector shall make an accounting in writing to the board. And it is further directed that the delinquent tax penalties shall be fixed as follows. September 1st to October 2nd, interest-free period. October 3rd to October 31st, interest of 2% added. November 1st to November 4th, interest of 3% added. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? I need a motion to ratify the provisions of the memorandum of agreement for the term 7/1/24 through 6/30/28 between the district and CSEA. John, Scott. Be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby ratifies the provisions of the memorandum of agreement between the district and the CSEA dated June 27, 2024, and authorizes the funding of those monies necessary to implement the provisions of the July 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2028 collectively negotiated agreement with the CSEA. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Need a motion to accept recommendations of the Committee of Special Education and Committee on Preschool Special Education. Billy and Ashley. Be resolved that the Board of Education hereby arranges for the special education provisions and services based upon the recommendations made for preschool and school-age students with disabilities by the Committee on Preschool Special Education, CPSE, and Committee on Special Education, CSE, during the period May 28, 2024 through and including August 12, 2024, and directs the district to arrange for the provisions of said special education programs and services to such preschool and school-age students with disabilities as recommended during such time period by the CPSE and CSE. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Need a motion for the readoption of district safety policy. John and Ashley. Be resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education readopts the district safety plan as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Need a motion to approve engagement letter, Pearson Ferdinand LLP. We have Shannon and Scott. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education enters into an agreement with Pearson Ferdinand LLP to defend the district against any action and claims in connection with the cyber incident effective July 31st, 2024, and at rates set forth in said engagement letter. Be it further resolved, the Board of Education authorizes the superintendent to execute the engagement letter. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We need a motion to approve the stipulation of settlement agreement between the district and CSEA. Billy, Shannon. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education approves agreement stipulation of settlement agreement between the Goshen Central School District and Civil Service Employees Association dated August 19th, 2024 as presented. Be it further resolved, the Board of Education authorizes the superintendent of schools to execute the stipulation of settlement agreement. Opposed? Okay. Moving on now to any board member issues, comments. I just had a couple of here. I know that you were going to reach out to the superintendent, possibly of Pleasantville.
Mount Pleasant.
Mount Pleasant, right? Did we hear back from them?
He has not contacted me back yet.
So what we do, hopefully we'll set something up.
Yep.
Very good. Earlier you were talking about foundation aid a bit. Did you guys see the email that went? Karen Myers,
So,
Oxbow?
yes, it's okay.
Yeah, please.
So there's actually two pieces coming up with local elected officials. I forget who the two elected officials are speaking in Middletown. And then late this afternoon, I also received that, just forgot his name. Who's our local senator? Cornwall. Skoufis, sorry, Senator Skoufis is also going to be doing a session that he has invited some superintendents to as well. So that is coming to a close before the Rockefeller Institute's gonna be making its recommendations to the governor. So anything that we can participate in, I would encourage us to try to make our voice heard, because that could have significant on future foundation aid for the district.
Great, thank you. I just wanted to bring that up. It's always one of those topics that comes up and is rather complicated, but saw the emails about all the ongoing meetings and opportunities we have to attend, so that's fantastic. All right, very good. Those are the few items I wanted to bring up. Do you have anything else? All right, I need a motion for executive session. John and Ashley. Be resolved that the Board of Education will enter into executive session with the intent not to reconvene the business portion of the meeting. Discussions related to the employment history of person or persons, proposed acquisition, sale, or lease of real property. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much, everybody. Good night.